Dear Derry, I was going to try to have another story um, set up and ready to tell you guys, and I completely forgot. We did the Starcast podcast today, and it went pretty well. Right around, I think it was around an hour and 45 minutes or so. Um, uh, I'm trying to get my iPad to where it needs to be. Um, Come on, wake up. Whatever. Notes. There. What do I have? Okay, I have. Oh, that's the wrong. No wonder it doesn't make any sense because I was looking at the wrong note. And I have nothing. Didn't even need to turn on my iPad anyway. All right, let's see. Story time with Uncle Tren. Um, this is gonna get really boring really fast if I don't come up with something. Many years ago, when I first was introduced to the concept of furries, um, I was living in North Texas, and I went over to Haunted Verdun Manor, which was a big haunted house, almost entirely werewolf based in northern Texas, out near Dallas. Really awesome place. Now, a little bit of backstory. Before I went there, I was up in Denton hanging out with a friend of mine, just sitting on the streets of Denton, Texas, sitting at the corner of Hickory and Fry, which there was a wonderful place called the Flying Tomato Pizza Parlor. Fantastic place. I have heard it has since burned down. Sad, sad panda for that one. Anyway, she was going out on a date, and she asked me, she said, could you cast some kind of a spell or a charm or something that she was very much a hippie. Anyway, so Sherry's like, can you cast some kind of a spell or a charm or something that'll, make it so that I have a good night? And I said, yeah, sure. And I took this necklace that I was wearing. It was this long purple uh, ribbon that had a brass dragon claw that was holding an amethyst. And, I muttered a few syllables and whatnot and put it around her neck, and I said, have a great night. And so that night she went out with a friend of hers, and she came back to me the next day, and she was like, oh my God, that worked perfectly. All the guys I was interested in came to me, and all the guys I wasn't interested in just stayed the hell away. Oh my God, thank you so much. She gave me the, the amulet back. I was like, hey, it's what I do. And she said, oh, I meant to tell you. I went to this place. Oh my God, this haunted house. It is so you. And I'm like, Sherry, I really don't, I'm not really a big fan of haunted house. She goes, no, 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 no. This place is very you. And I was like, I don't like haunted houses. They're kind of stupid for the most part. I just, none of them. She goes, no, okay, I'm going to call these guys because I did an interview out there. I'm going to call these guys and I'm going to tell them you're coming. I'm like, don't do that. I mean, I don't. She's like, no, I'm going to call them and tell them you're coming. I'm like, oh, but it's February. Why? Why is there a haunted house set up in February? She's like, it's permanent. It's a permanent fixture. It's always there. I'm like, okay, all right. Wait, is it an actual haunted house? She goes, no, 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 it's just a haunt attraction. It's not like a haunted house. It's like a Halloween attraction, but it's an actual permanent structure. Okay, whatever. So I got in touch with the guy who ran the place, Lance Pope, who is unfortunately deceased. And went out there the first time. My mom drove me out there, and I got out of the car, and Lance comes running out of the house with this stack of papers and says, I have to go to court. I'm sorry, I can't give you a tour of the house today. I have to go to court. Here's take these flyers and stuff. It's flyers and pamphlets and all this really kind of cool stuff. Lots of amazing werewolf art all over it. I'm like, yes, this does have some relevance to my interest. It is pertinent to my interest, yes. And so I went back the second time. When I went back, I wandered around the house because I couldn't. There were two fenced-in areas. There was the main house, which is just huge fence because it's eight double-wide trailers stacked 4 on 4, so huge place, and big 12-foot chain link fence all the way around it. And then the other place was his 2 trailers that were like his home and his workshop where he made all the costumes and everything. And again, big, huge, 12 to 14 foot, chain link fence all the way around it. And so I walked all the way around the haunted house portion, and I was calling out to him, and I didn't hear anything. And then I was walking around the 2 trailers where he was, where the workshop was, and he finally opens the door. He's like, "Oh, hey, come on in." And so I go and I open the big gate, and I walk inside, and I turn around to close the gate. And as I turn back towards the thing, I just barely hear, of paws on the ground. And I turn, and all I see is just wolf coming at my face. Just straight at me, like, oh. And these gigantic, muddy paws slam into my shoulders and pin me back against the fence. And it's just this, I am in the middle of a story here. Whatever. Yes, I will approve your follow request in a minute. And so, it's just wolf face. Right. And I look up, and I mean, we're talking a wolf hybrid, she's wolf and Malamute. Her name was Cassandra. Anyway, so she just boom pins me up against the fence, and I just grab a hold of her, and I'm like, "You're so adorable! Oh my god!" Because it's he's like, most people piss their pants when she does it. I'm like, no, she's beautiful. Why would I do that? She's adorable. Oh my god! And start kind of wrestling with her. I'm like, but you need to get down because, big, huge, muddy paw prints in the middle of my chest. And so I push her down, and I go walking over to the thing. She's just like, "Oh my god, you're a friend." I'm like, "Yes, I'm a friend. No, don't jump on me." And so we go inside. Lance, we sat down, we're looking at photo albums of, all these, these different gigs that he's done with the suits. And then further back in the trailer, he's got one of the, I think it was 3 bedrooms in the trailer or something. And in one of them, which was his office, he had a mannequin that had his suit, on it. And I was like, oh, he's gorgeous. Oh, I was trying desperately not to get all drooly and just that's very attractive. Anyway, so, because Lance was not gay at all. And I didn't want to seem too much of a creeper, even though that particular term didn't really exist aside from pot that made everything seem really slow. Anyway, so then we started going on a tour of the actual haunt. And when we got in, we walked in through the gate, and he's telling me all about the front yard and where they've got the Ecto, the Ghostbusters hearse, Ecto 1 that's sitting over there in the swamp where the dead guys climb out of the zombies climb out of the stuff. And then he's talking about the facade and I can't remember the name. There's a demon on the top of the house. Well, there was on the top of the house. And he shoots these jets of flame out of his. I can't remember his name. Anyway, so we were going inside, and we get to the first room, and it's the dining room, and there's just dead people everywhere, all over the place. And it's this huge banquet table, and there's this dead guy in the middle of the banquet table, and standing over, all these basically corpses around this table is the Baron Michael Verdun, huge, 8-foot werewolf, and he's kind of wearing a very nice, very regal. It's not a tux, but it's more like a ballroom jacket kind of thing. And he's just standing over the thing yes. And I was just like, he's cute. So Lance is telling me about like the Psycho Sisters, which are these three skeleton ghost things that all have violins, and they're specifically programmed with their animatronics to play the psycho, thing. And they're on one because the path that you walk through, the thing kind of cuts through sort of the middle of the room. It's slightly off center, diagonal, and then on one side is where the Psycho Sisters and everybody are, and then on the other side is where the banquet table and Michael and everybody else are. And he's kind of telling me about everything's wrapped in plastic. Because like I said, this is February, nothing is set to go. So it's all wrapped in, plastic dust covers and everything else. And there's this, I'm just sitting there kind of looking around and I hear something out front. I kind of cock my head a little bit and I look at him and I said, was that? He's like, dude, I run a haunted house. Don't try to freak me out. I said, no, not that. I think there's somebody outside. And he's like, I don't hear anything. Yeah, there's at least 3 people and a dog out there. And he's like, no. And then you hear this, yap, 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 yap. And he's like, oh, there's a dog. Yeah, I told you there's a dog out there. So he goes outside. And it turns out it's a family that was driving by, just randomly driving by, saw the house and realized that they had heard of the place, but didn't know really what it was. And they were just walking up to see if they could look at it. So Lance is like, well, I'm already taking a friend of mine on a tour through the place, so why don't you just come with us? Because we just started. We just walked inside. Now, while he's telling them, he's out front, because he comes in to tell me, all of this, and he says, I'm going to basically restart the tour with them, so just wait here, and, I'll bring them in, and we'll catch up. Fine, no problem. I'll wait right here and just stare at him. So I'm sitting there watching, and he's outside, and I can hear him kind of going through the same spiel, talking about the house and whatnot. And the fireplace at the other end of the walkway slides open and out walks this guy. And he kind of walks over. He's like, hey. I'm like, hey, how's it going? He's like, it's going good. Who are you? I'm like, I'm Trent. Lance is kind of taking me on a tour. He's like, oh, you're the guy that was supposed to come by, yeah. And he's like, yeah, okay, well, cool. He said, where's Lance? I said, I told him what was going on. And he's like, oh. So he's going to bring that family through the house with you. So yeah. He's like, huh. I'm kind of tempted to go grab a mask and hide somewhere in the house. And I said, I'll see you when I see you. And he just takes off. He closes the secret passage behind the fireplace. Gone. And I'm just sitting there staring at the Baron. And Lance comes in with this, young couple and their daughter and their little dog. Their daughter's maybe 7, 8 years old, I guess. And he kind of makes, introductions and whatnot. And then he continues the tour, and we're winding through the house and everything. And I'm constantly, because I'm at the back of the group, because they're all, in front of me. And I keep turning around and looking behind me, because I don't know when Ysengrin's going to, that's the other guy's name, Ysengrin. I don't know when he's going to pop out or where. And I keep looking behind me to make sure he's not going to try to get me too. And every time I turn back around to the front, the husband is turned looking back at me. And I'm like, what? He's like, what? And I said, what do you keep looking back at me for? And he's like, why do you keep looking behind you? I said, we're in a haunted house. Dude, I mean, really? He's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not a part of the haunt, He's like, okay. And so we kept going, and we got about maybe 2/3 of the way through. And up in front of us, I hear, roar! And I hear this scream and this little yip of the dog, because we had the dog with us. And there's like some laughter, and the wife kind of squeals and jumps, and the husband, yeah. And I'm like, there he is. Okay. And Lance was a little bit pissed about it. He was a little bit upset, because one of the reasons he went to court was because apparently some other little girl had started running through the house when she wasn't supposed to, and kind of tripped and hurt herself. And so he was, there was family trying to sue him for that. Anyway, but so it was much later. I was talking to Ysengrin, and Lance was off dealing with something else, and he was like, so are you a furry? And I'm like, a what? And he was like, a furry. I have some body hair, but I mean, I don't. He's like, no. And he had to explain the whole anthropomorphic thing. I said, oh, well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I've always liked him, Disney films and anime and, Greek mythology, Aesop's fables, all that stuff. Native American mythos, Greek mythos as well. I mean, all the way back, as far back. I mean, how long have we used animal-human hybrids to tell stories? I mean, as long as there have been people. But anyway, so yeah, I like it. He's like, oh, well, here, check out this BBS. And he gives me this phone number to dial into this BBS and stuff. And I went and I was like, I am hooked. Oh my God, this is perfect. This is great. And I met artists and writers and sculptors and musicians, and just the last, the better part of the latter half of my life has been in this fandom, and it's all because I finally let a reporter in North Central Texas call a haunted house and tell me, no, this place is so you. And I went. And so, wow. Wild ride. 16 minutes. All right, not bad. And a decent story. I'm sure there are plenty of others. Some of them more appropriate than others, yes. So, like I said earlier, we did the StarCast podcast earlier today. As soon as that is up on Geek Domo's channel, I'll grab my copy of it and upload it here. Probably be available tomorrow morning, maybe tomorrow afternoon, depending on when he can get his copy up and publish. And so let's see, it is coming up on Wednesday, which many of my friends refer to as Werewolf Wednesday. So if you've got great werewolf pictures, make sure that you tweet them at me, because it's always great to see really awesome werewolf photos. And then Thursday, not a whole lot going on. And then Friday is when we do Into the Portal. We've got some really kick-ass stuff to talk about on Into the Portal. So Friday seems like forever away. But I can wait. I can be patient. Calm. Just breathe in, breathe out. All that kind of stuff. So what I will do, 17 minutes, is I will let you guys go. And I will talk to you tomorrow. And until then, be careless.